The aftermath of the battle left the galaxy in shock. Hive Queen Sektha, ruler of the mighty Morghull Empire for 3,000 years, sat in the ruins of her flagship. Her vast fleet was gone. Her warriors were dead. Her empire was crumbling. For the first time in her long life, she faced something no Morghull had ever experienced. Total defeat. "My queen." General Carrick limped into the throne chamber, his exoskeleton cracked and leaking. "The humans have destroyed our remaining hive worlds. They're hunting down our survivors across the galaxy." Sektha could barely comprehend what she was hearing. "Impossible. We are the apex predators. We are the consumers of worlds." "Not anymore, my queen." The reports came in steadily, each one worse than the last. Human task forces had appeared in every Morghull system simultaneously. Their ships moved with precision that made military analysts across the galaxy weep with envy. Their weapons turned mighty biofortresses into vapor with casual efficiency. But it wasn't just the technology that terrified the surviving Morghull. It was the humans themselves. They fought like nothing the galaxy had ever seen. Cold, efficient, utterly without fear or mercy. Science-cast Mordek had managed to intercept some human communications during the battles. The translations chilled him to his core. "They call it pest control," he reported to the Queen. "They refer to our warriors as bugs, and our fleets as infestations. They discuss our destruction the way other species talk about cleaning their homes." Sektha realized with growing horror that the humans didn't see the Morghull as worthy enemies. They saw them as vermin to be exterminated. Meanwhile, on Veltar Prime, Ambassador Hayek was trying to establish the first human embassy in crystal space. The grateful Veltar kept offering tribute, territory, even servitude. None of it made sense to the humans. "We don't want to rule you," Hyuk explained to Ambassador Thrixal for the 10th time. "We don't want your resources or your worlds. We came because you asked for help." Thrixal's crystalline features reflected confusion. But you saved us. You defeated the Morghull Empire. Surely you want something in return." "We want you to rebuild. Live in peace. Be happy." This concept was so alien to galactic politics that it left the Veltar speechless. For thousands of years, the strong had dominated the weak. Conquest led to tribute. Military intervention led to occupation. But the humans seemed genuinely uninterested in taking advantage of their overwhelming victory. The news of the Morghull defeat spread across the galaxy like wildfire. The Galactic Council, still debating whether to send humanitarian aid to the Veltar, found themselves trying to understand reports that seemed impossible. A single human fleet destroyed the entire Morghull Empire? Council mediator Felnox read the intelligence reports with growing disbelief. "In 6 hours?" According to all sources, yes, his aide confirmed. "The humans call it Operation Golden Shield. They treated the destruction of our galaxy's most feared military power as a routine police action." What do we know about these humans? Very little. They've been members of the galactic community for 50 years, but they've kept to themselves. Mostly they've ignored our conflicts and focused on their own affairs. Until now. Yes, sir. Until now. The implications sent shockwaves through galactic civilization. If humans could casually destroy the Morghull Empire, what did that say? About every other military force in the galaxy? What did it say about the nature of power itself? On distant worlds, species that had lived under Morghull threat for generations began to realize they were free. The Carathians sent messages of gratitude. The Zilani resumed interstellar trade for the first time in centuries. The peaceful Yilani emerged from their hidden colonies, but it was the human response that truly changed everything. Instead of demanding tribute or establishing protectorates, they simply offered protection. Captain Rena established the first Terran defense post in Veltar space, staffed entirely by volunteers. "We're not here to control you," she told the assembled Veltar leaders. "We're here to make sure no one else tries what the Morghull did." For species that had lived under the law of might makes right for millions of years, this was incomprehensible. Power existed to be used for personal gain. Military strength existed to dominate others. That's how the galaxy worked. But the humans seemed to operate by different rules entirely. The revolution in galactic thinking started slowly, then accelerated. The Trilaxian Republic, facing invasion by their aggressive neighbors, sent a desperate message to Earth. Within days, a human cruiser appeared in their system. The invasion fleet took one look at the Terran vessel and fled. The Peaceful Merchants Guild, constantly raided by pirates, received human escort ships that eliminated the pirate problem in a single week. The escorts then left, refusing payment. The Corvex theocracy, surrounded by enemies, found human patrol ships keeping the peace in their space. When they offered to make the humans their new gods, the humans politely declined and suggested they worship whatever made them happy. Admiral Minho's final report became the most studied document in galactic history. The Veltar asked for peacekeepers. They got Deathworlders. In their language, the difference doesn't exist. In ours, it's everything. Galactic linguists spent months trying to understand that single statement. How could a species see no difference between keeping peace and waging war? How could the same individuals who had efficiently destroyed the Morghul Empire spend their time protecting crystal gardens and teaching alien children to play human games? The answer, when it finally came, revolutionized galactic philosophy. Humans didn't fight because they enjoyed violence. They fought because they wanted violence to end. They didn't seek power to dominate others. They sought power to protect those who couldn't protect themselves. Years later, Ambassador Thrixal stood in his rebuilt Crystal City, watching human children play with Veltar younglings. The Deathworlders had not conquered his people. They had not enslaved them or demanded tribute. They had simply done what they said they would do. They had helped. Ambassador, his aide Kilvin approached with the daily reports. The Galactic Council wants to know if we would support their proposal to make humanity the official peacekeeping force of the galaxy. Thrixal watched a human Marine teaching Veltar children how to grow earth flowers in crystal soil. The Marine's hands, which had recently held weapons capable of destroying ships, were now gentle as they guided small crystal fingers around delicate plant stems. "Tell the Council yes," he said finally. "Tell them that sometimes the galaxy needs Deathworlders more than it needs peacekeepers." In the depths of space, the last Morghul survivors fled to the galaxy's edge, carrying with them a warning that would echo through the ages. Beware the humans. They are death walking on legs. They are the end of the old ways. They are the protectors of those who cannot protect themselves. And that, the survivors whispered in their broken voices, is the most terrifying thing of all. The age of the strong dominating the weak was ending. The age of the strong protecting the weak had begun, and it had begun because somewhere in the galaxy, peaceful crystal beings had asked for help, and Deathworlders had answered. The planet New Busan looked peaceful from space. Green forests covered most of the land. Blue oceans sparkled under the light of the system's star. Small cities dotted the surface like tiny jewels. General Vexthul stood on the bridge of his battle cruiser and smiled. This would be easy. "Scan the planet," he ordered. "Tell me what defenses they have." The ship's computers worked quickly. Numbers and pictures appeared on the screens around the bridge. "No orbital defense platforms," reported the purple alien. "No military satellites. Their cities have no energy shields." "What about their weapons?" Vexthul asked. "Very basic, sir. Chemical explosives mostly. Some laser weapons, but they are weak. Nothing that could damage our ship." Vexthul laughed. "Just as I thought. These humans are even weaker than they looked in the videos." He studied the scan results more carefully. The human cities were small and spread out. Their military bases looked tiny compared to Ketharan fortresses. Their vehicles were primitive and slow. "How many humans live on this planet?" the general asked. "About 2 million, sir. Most of them are farmers and workers. We detect maybe 50,000 soldiers, but they have poor equipment." 50,000? Vexthul snorted. "I brought 10,000 Ketharan warriors. This will not even be a real battle." The general walked to the weapon controls. His battle cruiser carried enough firepower to destroy entire cities. He could wipe out the human settlements from orbit if he wanted to, but that would be too easy, and it would not send the right message. Prepare the landing forces, Vexthul commanded. We will land near their largest city and demand surrender. I want to see the fear in their eyes when they realize how outmatched they are. Should we attack their military bases first? Asked an officer. No need, the general replied. When they see our superior forces, they will give up without a fight. Most weak species do. The battlecruiser entered the planet's atmosphere. Alarms began to sound in the human cities below. Their primitive radar systems had finally detected the massive alien ship. Vexthul watched the human settlements on his screens. He expected to see panic. He expected to see their military forces racing around in confusion. He expected to see crowded roads as civilians fled in terror. Instead, the cities looked strangely quiet. The roads were empty. The military bases showed no activity. Where is everyone? Muttered the purple alien. They are probably hiding, Vexthul said. Good. Fear will make them easier to control. The Catharan ship landed in a large field outside the city called Sol Station. The ground shook under the ship's massive weight. Trees bent and broke from the wind created by the landing engines. Vexthul put on his battle armor and grabbed his favorite weapon. It was a plasma rifle that could cut through tank armor. He had used it to kill hundreds of enemies over the years. Deploy all ground forces, he ordered. Surround the city, set up a command post, and bring me some humans to question. 10,000 Catharan soldiers marched out of the ship. They were huge, powerful warriors covered in thick armor. Their weapons could destroy buildings with a single shot. Their vehicles were fast and heavily armed. The soldiers spread out across the countryside. They moved in perfect formation, like a well-oiled machine. Everything was going exactly as planned, but something felt wrong. Sir, called one of the soldiers over the radio, we have reached the city, but it is empty. What do you mean, empty? Vexthul demanded. No people, sir. The buildings are all here, but no one is inside them. It looks like everyone left in a hurry. More reports came in from other teams. Every human settlement they found was abandoned. Houses stood empty with doors hanging open. Vehicles sat in parking lots with no drivers. Even the military bases were deserted. They must be hiding in the forests, Vexthul decided. Spread out and search. Find them. But the forests were empty too. The Catharan soldiers found no humans anywhere. It was like the entire population had simply vanished. General Vexthul set up his command post in the middle of the empty city. He placed guards around the perimeter and established communication links with his ship in orbit. Everything was ready for the human surrender that never came. Days passed. The Catharan forces controlled the entire area around the city, but they had not seen a single human. Maybe they evacuated the whole planet, suggested an officer. Impossible, Vexthul replied. Our sensors would have detected ships leaving. They are here somewhere. That night, the first attack happened. A Catharan supply convoy was driving through the forest when explosions erupted around them. 3 vehicles were destroyed in seconds. When reinforcements arrived, they found only burning wreckage. The attackers had vanished like ghosts. Probably just some leftover military equipment that went off by accident, Vexthul told his officers, but he doubled the guards anyway. The next night, a communication tower was destroyed. The night after that, a fuel depot exploded. Each attack was quick and precise. The humans struck without warning and disappeared before the Catharans could respond. General Vexthul studied the attack reports in his command center. Someone had drawn red marks on his map showing where each attack had happened. The marks formed a circle around the Catharan positions. They are testing us, he realized, trying to learn our weaknesses. Should we retreat to the ship? Asked a worried officer. Retreat? Vexthul roared. From these cowardly attacks? Never. Double the patrols. Set up more sensors. These humans want to play games? I will show them what happens when they anger a Catharan general. But the attacks continued. Every night brought new explosions, new sabotage, new humiliation. The humans never fought directly. They struck from the shadows and ran away before the Catharans could catch them. Vexthal's soldiers began to look nervous. They jumped at every sound. They fired their weapons at shadows and empty trees. The proud Catharan war machine was being torn apart by an enemy they could not even see. "How many humans are attacking us?" Vexthal demanded after another failed patrol. "Unknown, sir. Our soldiers report seeing movement in the forests, but when they investigate, no one is there." "Impossible. Deploy the thermal sensors. Use the Khan motion detectors. These humans cannot hide from our technology forever." But somehow they could. The humans moved through the forests like they were part of the trees themselves. They appeared from nowhere, struck quickly, and vanished again. It was like fighting an army of ghosts. General Vexthal stared at his map late into the night. Red marks now covered most of it. In just 1 week, the humans had destroyed half of his supply convoys, 3 communication towers, 2 fuel depots, and a weapons storage facility. And he still had not seen a single human soldier. "Sir?" called a communications officer. "We are receiving a transmission. It appears to be from the humans." Vexthal straightened up. Finally, they wanted to surrender. "Put it on the main screen," he ordered. The screen flickered to life. A human face appeared. It was a man with dark hair and calm eyes. He wore simple military clothing with no fancy decorations. He looked completely ordinary. "General Vexthal," the human said in perfect Catharan language. "My name is Park Taman. I command the human forces on this planet. You speak our language well," Vexthal replied. "Good. That will make your surrender easier to understand." Park Taman smiled slightly. "I am not calling to surrender, General. I am calling to give you a warning." "A warning?" Vexthal laughed. "You hide in the forest like cowards and you threaten me?" "Leave this planet," Park Taman said quietly. "Take your soldiers and go home. This is your only chance." The transmission ended. General Vexthal stared at the blank screen in shock. Then his anger exploded like a volcano. "Find him," he screamed. "Find this Park Taman and bring him to me. I will show him what happens when someone threatens a Catharan general." The attack came at midnight. General Vexthal was reviewing battle reports in his command center when the explosions started. Red warning lights flashed throughout the base. Alarms screamed in the darkness. "Report!" Vexthal shouted over the noise. "Multiple explosions at the north perimeter," called an officer. "Heavy weapons positions are under attack." "How many attackers?" "Unknown, sir. Our sensors are being jammed." Vexthal grabbed his plasma rifle and headed for the exit. "All units converge on the north perimeter. Kill anything that moves." He stepped outside into chaos. Explosions lit up the night sky like deadly fireworks. Catharan soldiers ran in all directions, firing their weapons at shadows. The air smelled of smoke and burning metal. The general activated his night vision and scanned the area. His enhanced eyes could see clearly in the dark, and his sensors could detect heat signatures from hundreds of yards away. Nothing could hide from him. But the humans were not hiding. A figure moved through the smoke near the destroyed weapons platform. It was small and moved with a strange limp. Even in the darkness, Vexthal could see that one leg was injured. It was the human from the video, the weak, pathetic creature that had made him laugh. "There!" Vexthal pointed and charged forward. "The human leader. He is mine." 6 Catharan soldiers followed their general as he rushed toward the limping figure. Their weapons were ready. Their armor was thick. They had fought and won 1,000 battles across the galaxy. The human turned to face them. Park Taman stood alone in the middle of the burning battlefield. He held a simple rifle in his hands. His armor was still patched and worn. He still used a stick to help support his injured leg. He looked exactly like he had in the video, small, weak, helpless. "Surrender!" Vexthal roared as he approached. "Surrender and I might let you live long enough to watch your planet burn." Park Taman did not move. He did not run away. He did not drop his weapon or beg for mercy. He just waited. The first Catharan soldier reached him and raised his plasma rifle to fire. Park Taman moved. It was not the clumsy stumbling that Vexthal expected. The human flowed like water around the alien's weapon. His injured leg seemed to disappear as he spun and struck. Something flashed in his hand. The Catharan soldier fell to the ground with a surprised grunt. His armor had a small hole right where his neck joined his body. The second soldier fired his weapon, but Park Taemin was already moving again. The plasma bolt missed by inches as the human rolled behind a piece of debris. When he came up on the other side, his rifle was aimed and ready. One shot. The second Catharan dropped. Impossible, Vexthul whispered. The other soldiers opened fire, all at once. Plasma bolts lit up the night as they poured energy toward the human's position. When the firing stopped, there was nothing left but smoking ruins. Got him, one soldier said with satisfaction. Park Taemin appeared behind them. He moved like a ghost made of shadows and death. His injured leg did not slow him down. His patched armor did not restrict his movement. He was everywhere at once, striking with surgical precision. In less than 30 seconds, all 6 Catharan soldiers lay on the ground. Not dead, Vexthul realized with shock, but unconscious. The human had somehow knocked them out without killing them. Now only the general remained. Vexthul raised his plasma rifle, the most advanced weapon in the Catharan arsenal. It could destroy a tank with one shot. At this range, he could not miss. Park Taemin threw his walking stick. The simple wooden stick hit the plasma rifle and knocked it from Vexthul's hands. The weapon spun away into the darkness. What are you? Vexthul demanded. He drew his combat knife, a blade as long as the human's arm. What kind of creature moves like that? Park Taemin picked up his walking stick and leaned on it again. In the firelight, Vexthul could see his face clearly for the first time. The human looked tired. Not just physically tired, but tired deep in his soul. His eyes had seen too much war, too much death, too much pain. But there was something else in those eyes, something that made Vexthul's scales crawl with unease. Intelligence, cold, calculating intelligence. I am exactly what your video showed you, Park Taemin said quietly. A human soldier. Impossible. Vexthul lunged forward with his knife. He was bigger, stronger, faster than any human could be. He had killed warriors from 100 different species. Park Taemin sidestepped the attack so smoothly that he barely seemed to move. His walking stick came up and struck Vexthul's wrist with perfect precision. The general's hand went numb, and the knife fell from his grip. Before Vexthul could react, the human struck again. The walking stick hit pressure points on the alien's body that should not have been possible for a human to know about. Catharan anatomy was classified military information. Pain shot through Vexthul's legs and he fell to his knees. The human stood over him, completely calm. Your species has thick scales for armor, Park Taemin observed. But you have nerve clusters at the joints where the scales meet. Hit them in the right sequence and even a giant falls down. Vexthul tried to stand, but his legs would not obey him. How do you know our anatomy? That information is secret. We studied the bodies of your soldiers from the other battles, the human replied. We learn from every encounter. More explosions echoed across the battlefield. Vexthul could hear his soldiers calling for help on the radio. His perfectly organized military base was falling apart around him. How many of you are there? He gasped. Does it matter? My reinforcements will arrive soon. When they see what you have done, your reinforcements left orbit 3 hours ago, Park Taemin interrupted. We convinced them that your ship was destroyed. Vexthul's blood turned to ice. That is impossible. My ship has the strongest shields and weapons. Had, the human corrected gently. We planted explosives inside the hull before you landed. Your ship is currently drifting in space with no power and a very confused crew. The general stared at the small human in horror. When? How? We scanned everything. Our security was perfect. Park Taemin smiled sadly. General, your people think, in terms of big armies and direct attacks. You look for enemies that fight the way you fight. You never considered that we might think differently. But you are weak, Vexthul protested. Look at you. You can barely walk. Yes, Park Taemin agreed. I was injured in the last battle, against your Admiral Krell. Shrapnel in my leg. It will never heal properly. Then how? Being injured does not make someone weak, General. It makes them careful. It makes them think before they act. It makes them find new ways to survive. The sound of gunfire was fading across the battlefield. Vexthul realized with growing dread that his soldiers were losing. Somehow, impossibly, they were losing to an enemy they could not even see clearly. "What do you want?" he asked. Park Tae-min studied him for a long moment. "I want you to understand something, General. Your people have conquered many worlds. You have defeated many species. But you have always fought enemies who played by the same rules you do." The human gestured toward the burning remains of the Catharan base. "You expect your enemies to meet you in open battle. You expect them to use similar weapons and tactics. You expect them to surrender when they are outnumbered. That is how civilized beings fight wars," Vexthul said. "Maybe," Park Tae-min replied. "But we are not civilized beings, General. We are survivors." A new sound reached them through the smoke. Footsteps. Many footsteps. Humans emerged from the darkness around them. They appeared silently, like they had grown out of the ground itself. Men and women in patched armor, carrying simple weapons, moving with the same deadly grace as their leader. Vexthul counted them quickly, maybe 50 humans. Against his 10,000 soldiers it should have been nothing, but looking at their faces he finally understood why 3 Catharan admirals had failed. These were not the faces of civilized beings. These were the faces of predators who had learned to hunt in the dark. The humans formed a circle around General Vexthul, but they kept their weapons lowered. They moved without making sound, like shadows given form. Each one studied the alien general with the same cold, calculating eyes as their leader. "You want to know what we are?" Park Tae-min said. It was not a question. Vexthul tried to stand again, but the nerve strikes had left his legs useless. He was helpless on his knees before creatures he could crush with his bare hands under normal circumstances. The humiliation burned worse than any physical pain. "I have fought warriors from across the galaxy," he growled. "I have seen species with natural armor, species with poison, species with psychic powers, but nothing like this." A woman stepped forward from the circle of humans. She was even smaller than Park Tae-min, with short black hair and a scar across her left cheek. Her armor was patched in so many places that it looked like a quilt. "Colonel Kim Da-eun," Park Tae-min said by way of introduction. She commanded the defense of Station 7 during Admiral Zek's invasion. 8,000 Catharan soldiers, Kim Da-eun said quietly. They landed expecting to find a military base with heavy defenses. Instead, they found a farming colony with 300 civilians. "What happened to them?" Vexthul asked, though he was not sure he wanted to know. Kim Da-eun smiled, but there was no warmth in it. "We taught them that civilians and soldiers are the same thing when your home is being attacked. Every farmer knew how to make explosives. Every shop owner knew how to set traps. Every child knew how to hide and report enemy movements." Another human joined the conversation. This one was younger, maybe barely an adult. His name tag read Lee Min-ho, and he wore lieutenant's insignia. "I was 12 when the Catharans first came to my world," Lee Min-ho said. "They thought children would be easy to control. They were wrong." Vexthul felt a chill run down his spine. "You use children as soldiers?" "We do not use children as anything," Park Tae-min replied firmly. "But when someone invades your home, everyone fights. Age does not matter. Size does not matter. Only survival matters." The human leader activated a small device on his wrist. A holographic display appeared in the air, showing images of a planet from space. "This is Earth," Park Tae-min said. "Our homeworld." Vexthul looked at the planet and gasped. The continents were mostly brown and gray instead of green. Massive storm systems covered half the surface. The polar ice caps were enormous, stretching far toward the equator. "It looks like a dead world," he whispered. "Close," Park Tae-min agreed. "Earth is what your scientists call a Class 12 death world. Everything on it is trying to kill everything else." The hologram changed to show life on the planet's surface. Vexthul saw creatures that made his blood freeze. Massive predators with teeth like swords. Tiny insects whose stings could kill in seconds. Plants that could strangle a full-grown warrior. The gravity is 30% higher than standard, Kim Da-un added. The atmosphere has poisonous chemicals. The weather can change from burning heat to freezing cold in hours. Most worlds that support life are peaceful, Lieutenant Lee Min-ho explained. Gentle climates, small predators, easy food sources. Earth is not like that. The hologram showed more images. Humans huddled in caves during ice storms. Humans fighting massive beasts with primitive weapons. Humans running from floods and earthquakes and volcanic eruptions. For millions of years, our species had to survive on a planet that never stopped trying to kill us, Park Taemin said. We learned to adapt, or we died. Sergeant Yu Ji-woo stepped forward next. She was missing her left arm, but she carried her weapon with deadly efficiency in her right hand. I lost my arm to a Catharan plasma blast on Kepler Station, she said. But I kept fighting, you know why? Bexthal shook his head. Because I grew up in the Australian outback on Earth. When I was 8, I was bitten by a death spider. When I was 10, I was caught in a bushfire and had to dig a hole in the ground to survive. When I was 15, I fought off a pack of dingoes with nothing but a stick. She hefted her rifle. Losing an arm in battle? That was just Tuesday for me. The hologram changed again. Now it showed human cities, but they looked nothing like the peaceful settlements on other worlds. These cities were fortresses. Every building was designed to withstand attack. Every street could become a maze of death traps. We do not build cities for comfort, Park Taemin explained. We build them for survival. Every human child learns to fight before they learn to read. Every human adult knows how to make weapons from scraps, how to find food in the wilderness, how to hide from enemies. But you have technology, Vexthul protested. Ships, computers, advanced materials. Yes, Corporal Choi Seo-jin agreed. He was the youngest of the group, but his eyes were old. But our technology is different from yours. The hologram showed human equipment in detail. Vexthul had thought their gear looked primitive and crude. Now he saw the truth. Every piece of human equipment was designed to be repaired in the field. Every weapon could function in extreme conditions. Every tool served multiple purposes. What looked like junk was actually engineering genius. Your plasma rifles are powerful, Choi Seo-jin continued, but they break down in dusty conditions. They need special power cells. They cannot be repaired without a factory. He held up his own rifle. This weapon can be fixed with spare parts from 100 different sources. It works in any environment. It fires ammunition I can make in a garage. Your armor is thick and strong, added another human. But it is heavy. It restricts movement. It has electronic systems that can be jammed. She tapped her own patched armor. This is light, flexible, and purely mechanical. It may not stop. A direct hit, but it lets me move fast enough that you cannot hit me in the first place. General Vexithul was beginning to understand. You do not fight to win battles, you fight to survive wars. Now you are learning, Park Taemin said with approval. The human leader gestured to his soldiers. Every person in this circle has survived things that would kill most civilized beings. Kim Da-un survived the Kepler plague that killed half her colony. Lee Min-ho survived 3 years alone in the wilderness after his family was killed. Yu Ji-woo survived a direct artillery hit that should have vaporized her. What about you? Vexthul asked. Park Taemin was quiet for a moment. I survived Earth, he said simply. The hologram changed one more time. Now it showed a human family in a small house. A man, a woman, and 2 children. They looked happy and peaceful. My family, Park Taemin said softly. They died when a volcanic eruption destroyed our town. I was away at military training. By the time I got back, there was nothing left but ash. The hologram faded away. That was 20 years ago, Park Taemin continued. I have been fighting ever since. Fighting Earth's weather, fighting Earth's predators, fighting alien invaders who think humans are weak. Vexthul looked around at the circle of humans. Each face told a story of survival against impossible odds. Each scar was a lesson learned in pain. Each calm expression hid depths of experience that the general could barely imagine. You are not a civilization, he realized. You are a species of warriors. We are what happens when a species spends millions of years learning that the universe is hostile, Kim Da-yoon replied. We do not expect mercy. We do not expect fair fights. We expect to struggle for every breath, every meal, every day of life. And when someone threatens what little we have managed to build, Park Tae-min added, we respond with everything we have learned about survival. The sound of approaching aircraft filled the air. Vexthul looked up hopefully, thinking his reinforcements had arrived. Instead, he saw human aircraft landing around the ruined base. They looked as patched and crude as everything else the humans used, but they flew with perfect precision. Your surviving soldiers are being loaded onto medical transports, Park Tae-min informed him. We will treat their injuries and return them to Catharan space. You are not going to kill them? Why would we? They are not a threat anymore, and dead soldiers cannot carry messages back to their commanders. Park Tae-min leaned heavily on his walking stick and looked down at the kneeling general. You came here expecting to fight a weak species that would surrender when faced with superior force. Instead, you found a species that has been preparing for this fight since before your empire was born. We have been expecting you, Kim Da-yoon added. We have been ready for you, and we have been learning about you. Learning what? Vexthul whispered. Park Tae-min smiled that same sad smile. Learning how to survive you. 3 days later, General Vexthul sat in a human medical facility. His legs were working again thanks to human doctors who understood Catharan biology better than he had expected. The irony was not lost on him. Park Tae-min entered the room, carrying 2 cups of a steaming brown liquid. He offered one to the general. Coffee, Park Tae-min explained. It is a human drink, mild stimulant, helps us stay awake during long campaigns. Vexthul took the cup carefully. The liquid was bitter but not unpleasant. You are being very kind to someone who came here to conquer your world. Kindness is not the right word, Park Tae-min replied, sitting down across from him. This is strategy. Through the window, Vexthul could see human soldiers loading Catharan prisoners onto transport ships. The aliens were not bound or chained. They walked freely, some even talking and laughing with their human escorts. I do not understand your strategy, Vexthul admitted. Of course you do not. Your people think in terms of dominance and submission, win or lose, conquer or be conquered. Park Tae-min sipped his coffee. But those are not the only options. A young human woman entered the room. She wore civilian clothes and carried a tablet computer. Her name badge identified her as Dr. Sarah Chen, a xenobiologist. The general's medical scans are complete, she reported. No permanent damage. His nervous system should be fully functional within the week. Thank you, doctor, Park Tae-min said. After she left, he turned back to Vexthul. We could have killed you easily. Instead, we are sending you home healthy and unharmed. Why do you think that is? Vexthul had been wondering the same thing. You want me to carry a message back to the Catharan Empire? Exactly. What message will you carry? The general thought carefully before answering. That humans are more dangerous than we believed. True, but incomplete. Park Tae-min stood and walked to the window. Outside, human and Catharan soldiers were working together to repair some of the damage from the battle. What else? That you do not fight wars the way other species do. Also true, but still incomplete. Vexthul struggled to understand. Everything he had believed about warfare, about strength, about civilization, had been turned upside down in the past few days. I do not know what message you want me to carry. Park Tae-min turned back to face him. The message is this. Humans do not want to conquer the galaxy. We do not want to rule other species. We do not want to destroy your empire. Then what do you want? To be left alone? The simplicity of the answer shocked Vexthul. That is all? That is everything. Park Tae-min sat down again. General, your empire has existed for 1,000 years. You have conquered hundreds of worlds. Millions of aliens serve you. But you have never encountered a species that simply wanted to be left alone. Every species wants to expand, to grow, to take more territory. Most species, yes. But we are not most species. Park Tae-min gestured toward the window again. We come from a world that taught us to be content with survival. We do not need vast empires or endless resources. We need enough space to live and enough time to heal from the last war. Colonel Kim Da-eun entered the room, followed by Lieutenant Lee Min-ho and Sergeant Yu Ji-woo. They took positions around the room, not threatening, but alert. Tell me about your other admirals, Kim Da-eun said. The ones who came before you. Admiral Krell, Admiral Zek, and Admiral Moore. Vexthul replied automatically. What did they expect to find when they attacked human worlds? Vexthul thought back to the military. Briefings. Weak defensive positions, inferior technology, quick surrender when faced with overwhelming force. And what did they find instead? Resistance. Guerrilla tactics. Soldiers who fought to the death. No, Lieutenant Lee Min-ho corrected gently. They found soldiers who fought to survive. There is a difference. Park Tae-min pulled out his tablet and showed Vexthul a star map. Red dots marked the locations of previous battles between humans and Catharans. Admiral Krell attacked the mining world of New Kyoto, Park Tae-min explained. He expected the miners to surrender immediately. Instead, he found that every human on the planet knew how to use industrial equipment as weapons. Mining charges become bombs, Kim Da-eun added. Excavation vehicles become tanks. Transport tunnels become defensive positions. Admiral Zek attacked the farming world of New Seoul, Park Tae-min continued. He expected civilians with no military training. Instead, he found that farmers who can survive Earth-class weather can survive anything. And Admiral Moore? Vexthul asked. Admiral Moore attacked our research station on the edge of human space. He thought scientists would be easy targets. Sergeant Yu Ji-woo smiled grimly. He discovered that humans who study hostile alien environments tend to be very good at creating hostile alien environments. The tablet showed casualty reports from all 3 battles. The numbers made Vexthul's head spin. Thousands of Catharan soldiers dead or missing. Entire fleets destroyed or disabled, all by a species that still used primitive weapons and patched armor. Each admiral learned the same lesson you learned, Park Tae-min said. Humans do not fight wars the way civilized species do. We fight wars the way survivors do. But you are not animals, Vexthul protested. You have art, literature, music. I have seen your cities. You are capable of great beauty. Yes, Kim Da-eun agreed. We create beautiful things because we know how quickly beauty can be destroyed. We write poetry because we know how precious words become when people die. We make music because we know that songs outlast empires. The most civilized beings are often those who have learned to value civilization by nearly losing it, added. Lee Min-ho. Park Tae-min closed the tablet and looked directly at Vexthul. General, when you return to your empire, what will you tell them? Vexthul was quiet for a long time. Finally, he spoke. I will tell them that humans are not a conquest opportunity. I will tell them that humans are a species that should be avoided. Good. What else? I will tell them that humans do not fight to win glory or gain territory. They fight to protect what they already have. Better. What else? Vexthul struggled with the words. I will tell them that humans are what happens when a species learns to survive against impossible odds, and that a species like that should never be underestimated. Park Tae-min nodded approvingly. Excellent. And one more thing. What? Tell them that humans remember their friends and their enemies. We remember species that leave us alone, and we help them when they need it. But we also remember species that attack us. The human leader's voice grew colder. Tell them that the Catharan Empire has attacked human worlds 4 times now. Tell them that we have been patient because we understand that empires make mistakes. But tell them also that our patience has limits. Vexthul felt the temperature in the room drop several degrees. Are you threatening the Empire? I am giving the Empire information it needs to make intelligent decisions, Park Tae-min replied. Your people are warriors, General. You understand strength. You respect it. So let me be very clear about human strength. The human stood up and walked to a wall display. It showed a map of local space, with human territories marked in blue and Catharan territories marked in red. We know the location of every Catharan military base within 50 light-years of human space, Park Taman said calmly. We know your supply routes, your patrol schedules, your communication codes. Kim Da-un stepped forward. We know which of your worlds have strong defenses and which are vulnerable. We know where your fleets are stationed and how quickly they can respond to attacks. We know about the rebellion brewing on your southern border, added Lee Min-ho. The one your generals think is under control. We know about the resource shortages on your industrial worlds, continued Yu Ji-woo. The ones your empire does not want to admit exist. Vexthul stared at them in growing horror. How do you know all this? Park Taman smiled that sad, dangerous smile. General, you have been fighting humans for 2 years now. Did you really think we would not learn everything we could about our enemy? The human leader turned back to the star map. We could cripple your empire's military capacity within 6 months if we wanted to. We could turn your rebellion into a full civil war. We could destroy your industrial base and leave you defenseless against other enemies. But you will not, Vexthul said, though he was not entirely sure. No, we will not, because that would require us to become conquerors, and we have no interest in conquest. But General, Park Taman's voice became very quiet and very serious. If you force us to fight a war for our survival, we will use every advantage we have. We will not fight fair. We will not show mercy. We will do whatever it takes to protect our homes and our families. Is that a threat? It is a promise. 2 days later, General Vexthul stood on the bridge of a human transport ship heading back to Catharan space. His surviving soldiers were aboard, all of them healthy and well-treated. Park Tae-min had come to see them off personally. He still walked with his limp, still leaned on his walking stick, still looked like the weak creature from the old video recordings. But now Vexthul saw him clearly. This was not a weak soldier. This was an apex predator from a death world, shaped by millions of years of evolution into the perfect survivor. Give my regards to your emperor, Park Taman said as the transport prepared to leave.